from the land of Genghis Khan.
Mongolians are incredibly welcoming people.
From one bout of madness to another.
Hitler. I think he basically got dictators a bad name.
From motor mouth to motor cars.
As far as I'm concerned, this car is as ugly as Marilyn Monroe.
With a Top Gear rally report at 10:30. That Sunday evening lineup on BBC Two.
It's democracy versus aristocracy, says Jack Straw, and today the battle reaches a new pitch. It's all about the new rules for the European elections, but it's elevated into a massive confrontation between Lords and Commons. We'll have the latest on that, also talking about a new energy tax, what that might mean. Join us in 5 minutes' time.
The news first on BBC Two with Moira Stewart.
Good afternoon. More than 80 United Nations weapons inspectors have returned to Baghdad to resume their work. Britain and America have warned Saddam Hussein they'll attack without warning if Iraq doesn't allow inspectors full access.
They have returned to a city and a country many probably believe they would never come back to. UN weapons inspectors were evacuated a week ago at a point when an American-led attack against Iraq seemed inevitable. That threat has now been suspended, but it has not disappeared. They are not viewed with any affection by the authorities here or by many ordinary Iraqis.
Whether this still dormant crisis finally reaches the point of military conflict depends to a large degree on these men and women returning to UN headquarters here in Baghdad. British and American forces say they will strike at an instant if these weapons inspectors are denied full and unfettered access to suspected sites.
A committee of MPs has warned that compensation for people given poor pension advice in the late 1980s could top £10 billion. The Treasury Select Committee has called for much tighter regulations on the insurance industry, a reduction in sales based on commission, and greater powers for the new regulator, the Financial Services Authority. Big cuts in the size of the Territorial Army will be confirmed by the Defence Secretary George Robertson this afternoon. He'll announce plans to reduce the size of the force from 56 to 40,000 and to streaming the remaining units.
Volunteers from the 10th Battalion Parachute Regiment on exercise over the weekend. These men still do not know whether they have a future in the Territorial Army. One of its 2 parachute battalions is due to be scrapped. The sweeping cutbacks will mean the closure of around 80 drill halls and the loss of many historic regiments as they're merged into regional units. Those that run the force say the plans will leave Britain dangerously short of reserve forces. But the government says the shake-up of the TA is essential to reflect the end of the Soviet threat. The proposals have also sparked a political battle, particularly in Scotland, where the government has reduced the scale of the cuts and reprieved 2 units of engineers after pressure from both the Scottish Secretary Donald Dewar and from the opposition.
A GP has been found guilty of indecently assaulting 7 female patients. Maidstone Crown Court heard that Gerald Walmsley preyed on vulnerable young women. The assaults began in 1983 and continued until November last year, when he was reported to the police. The traditional lunch hour is becoming a thing of the past, according to a new survey. It says most people take just 30 minutes for lunch, and that many of them don't even leave their desks. Microwave meals are benefiting from the trend becoming increasingly popular. More news at 3:25.
And the Southeast headlines. Lambeth Social Services are trying to track down young people who may have had contact with a care worker who later died from an AIDS-related illness. The council has confirmed that it's investigating allegations that care worker Stephen Forrest assaulted one youngster 10 years ago. The boy, then aged 6, was living at a children's home. It's claimed officials knew about the abuse 2 years ago, but have only just told him to take an HIV test. The government has announced that hundreds of new traffic enforcement cameras are to be installed across the capital. The aim is to help prosecute motorists driving in bus lanes. A doctor from Kent has been convicted of indecently assaulting women patients. A jury at Maidstone Crown Court found Dr. Gerald Walmsley from Langton Green near Tunbridge Wells guilty on 10 charges over a 17-year period. Finally, bomb disposal experts have carried out a controlled explosion of a Second World War bomb on the outer circle of Regent's Park. Now the weather with Isabel Lang.
Hello there, good afternoon. Two main problems for travellers this evening and tonight, some fog patches and also frost, which could well lead to some slippery surfaces. Now all day today it stayed foggy through the Vale of York, still temperatures